I'm just going to go ahead and hit record for our first 15 minutes because I have a million questions I want to ask you, and they all should just be in the podcast.
I love it.
So first of all, what's been new since the last time I saw you?
Oh my gosh. A lot. I want to know all the same things about you too. So yeah. But um let's see. I'm trying to remember the last time we really were collaborating was back when we did that teacher retreat. And so I
Yeah.
believe I was still in education in a building in a district.
Yes. And
Where
I talked to you where you got the coaching job.
yes. Yes. So I now am a state coach and trainer. And one of my primary roles, I'm on some other trainings as well, but one of my primary ones is training instructional coaches and then coaching them to help them get better in their coaching practice. And so that just really lit me up and caused a pivot in my business as well. Because I was feeling called to do that, to kind of move in that direction. Because I originally started coaching, looking back and wanting to heal, help women heal and become empowered after like a big life change. Like I left an abusive marriage and got a divorce and had to figure everything out. And so that was my initial people. And so as I evolved as a coach, I was feeling really called to work with coaches. Like they're just my people. I love the way we all think and the way we see the world and the way we want to save the world and just all the things. But my own limiting beliefs were telling me like, well, not yet. Like I've got to hit some imaginary milestone in my business before I can do that. So to have the State Department of Education pretty much recruit me to do that in the instructional coaching realm was kind of a light bulb moment where I was like, wait a minute. um, you know,
Yeah.
I've been asked to step into this role in my career. I'm the only thing holding me back in my business.
Cool. And so you have an app now, which is cool, and a whole community. And I love that we both just found human design on our own in different ways. I started working with it in February of 2021, I think. Now
Nice.
it's been, yeah, it's coming up in 2 years of living my strategy and authority. And for me, I've really just leaned into that for supporting clients. And I'm doing corporate coaching, so I don't always bring it in, but I have to say that I just brought it in for the first time for a client, and we're going to debrief it. So I'm really excited about that, and being able to empower people through human design has been really awesome. Yeah, I mean, so I've developed the Art of Coaching program. So I'm really passionate about developing coaches. Like, from a teacher perspective, you talk about pedagogy.
Yes.
But the Art of Coaching is actually really more about like self-awareness and like inside and right, but also in how we show up. And so it's a 2-part program. So I've been really excited about that because I had the call from the universe because I got asked from some coaches and that I had known for as friends, or like you, I met in a podcast, and they were just like, I've been thinking about it and I want you to be my coach. And that's been really cool. So from a business development standpoint, I support coaches by developing them at their craft of coaching, basically.
I love that. And what's your authority?
So I'm a sacral generator.
Nice.
Just like you,
Yeah.
5-1 design. And I've been really getting into the gene keys and the channels. Like I've been a little bit like getting to get a little bit further into it, but my purpose is to, disrupt things that need to shift and change for the better.
Yes.
Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
What about you?
I love that you shared that, it came to you. And so that's something I'm newer in the human design learning space, and now have brought a co-coach into my membership to help serve our clients at a really high level in very unique ways. And so she's a human design specialist. She has all kinds of trainings and licenses and things that she's gone through and is extremely knowledgeable. And so we just did this 21-day authority challenge, which I know you joined. And
Good.
yeah, and so learning about my authority, which is the same as yours, the sacral, and hearing that, you listen to your gut, which I kind of always done, but then to hear that not everybody should do that or can do that. That's not their aligned way of making decisions. So getting that validation that that is my aligned way. And so to really listen to that gut, and then that things really do come to you. The universe brings things to you, and then you get a chance to ask your authority and respond. And so I love that you followed that exact path, and that it's all.
Yeah. So I really like, this is how I've always lived, but I didn't have words around it. Part of my human design, like I've always been very like self, like this is who I am. And then we both learned is like by just by understanding ourselves so we can understand others. But I've always lived this way, but not in a conscious way. And so being more conscious about it has really allowed me to understand, like use my superpower of my open spaces. As you'll start to learn about the centers. And one of my centers is completely open, and it's the emotion center, the whatever they're called, the solar plexus. And I had two parents that were emotional authorities raising a sacral. And mom was a 5-1. I looked her up as well. And so I took on, as it says, like as a child that is not aware of this, like you take on all their feelings and their emotions, and you want to fix all those things. It talks about how you can feel anxious and depressed. And I'm like, and like all the signs of ADHD, like along there, I'm like, okay. And so it's been really fun for me to, learn through the process. Like I deny my sacral sometimes still. Right. We all do. We deny what we know to be true. And my dad denied his authority and bought a car the day he saw it and ended up taking it back, which is like a whole other story. But that was his like life lesson, and I denied mine and making a decision that I knew. But it's been fun for me to just get excited about that. Like, ooh, look at that cool thing like that we learned. And yeah, the universe, I think what happened for me in the pandemic was I felt like the universe wasn't sending me anything. Like I felt like I didn't have a lot to respond to. And what I did have to respond to was the Facebook universe, or right, the Instagram universe, and from a business perspective. And it was really out of alignment for me. And it was also like, oh, this was the time where I was supposed to, do the inner work and hibernate.
Right.
So I've always I've moved to Knoxville since the last time I talked to you.
Awesome.
I've been here 10 weeks. And for me, my business tripled in the first, and I didn't do anything.
I love that. Yes.
And only one of that is someone that's actually here. So it wasn't even about like, I just wasn't in the right location at the right time. I had so much time to be able to find this place that we moved to, and right, to be able to make all the arrangements that it takes for a cross country move, which is a lot. Buried my grandmother, buried my cousin's wife. Dan buried a brother and several friends. So looking at it, it's like, okay, the universe gave you exactly what you needed to respond to, because and so we love Knoxville.
Awesome.
And now that we can go places, Chantal, I'm doing solopreneur retreats here for soul, SOUL preneurs.
Yes.
And women in leadership. I have a guest room and guest bathroom. It's a B&B situation. I have executive chef Dan Sullivan, aka the man of the house, who makes catered menus. But I want to come to Wichita. I've already had so many Wichita women, and I'd love to bring on some more. So I'm going to get some referrals from you too on who else to bring. Tell me, how did you meet Gwen? Tell me about that synergy for you and how the universe aligned.
Yeah. So I found on some Facebook ad like a free boot camp challenge thing from a business coach coaching coaches. And I was like, okay, let's try it out. And I really liked it. And one of the activities that she had us do was about I've gone through challenges before that tell you like, you need to do some market research and here's some sample questions, now go do. And this gal took it a step further, and she had a very large amount of people in the challenge too, which helped. And she said, put in the comments on this post, your target market, and then go through everybody's, and you find 3 and you say, so like if you put your target market, Katie, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that resonates with me, then I'd reply to you, and you and I would get on a Zoom and then talk. And you would just ask me questions like, so what books do you read? What, all the things that we're told to do market research on to really nail down to our kind of ideal client avatar. And so Gwen and I connected in that way, and we ended up on a Zoom to do these target market research questions. And she was telling me about human design, and I'm like, I have never heard about this before in my life. I like to learn. I'm a curious person.
That's your
And
one line.
yeah, yep. I'm an investigator. And so she offered me a free reading, and I had no idea what that was. And so she sent me this little form and had me fill out like my birthday and the time I was born. I'm like, how the hell do I know what time I was born? So I had to find my birth certificate, and I was like, what is this about? And showed up to our Zoom where she was going to tell me about my profile, and she shares screen, and it's the weird human design thing. And I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? Like, what is happening right now?
So what's interesting about that is when I do human design readings, I don't show them anything. So then I'm kind of like Miss Cleo, where I'm like, so
nice.
And I read it to them. I actually never show them the chart. It's woo-woo enough, I feel like, just asking for the birth date and time. But go on. Yes. So you get to see the chart. And
yes. And so, my initial like brain, this is new and different. So therefore I'm gonna, go down into my brain stem and like fight, flight, freeze, and kind of like not sure what to do. But as she started telling me about my profile, like I was like, oh my gosh, like it was so incredibly validating. And just really, I felt so like seen for the first time. And like you, I love to learn about myself. And so, I've done all the Myers-Briggs and all the different types of tests throughout the years growing up and whatnot. I don't know, my Cosmo tests come to mind too, but those were fun.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find out, what type of girlfriend you are in the Cosmo test, right? What kind of lover you are.
Absolutely. So yeah, I just was like very intrigued by that. And we started following each other. And there was something at that time that, I wasn't even serving the audience I'm serving now, but there's just a connection there where I was like, at some point, we're going to collaborate in some way. I felt the same with you too, when we met through podcasting, and I didn't know how, I didn't know when. And then as I was pivoting my clients, pivoting my message, pivoting like everything, and doing a lot of inner self growth, I was reflecting that in my social media. And she replied to one of the things and was just like, oh my gosh, yes, like we're speaking the same language. She said it in her words. I don't know exactly what it was, but those are my words, my translation of what she said. And without even really thinking, I sent her a private message and was just like, hey, like I've known forever we were going to collaborate in some way. Let's chat. And so we just reconnected and started talking. And I'm like, I want to launch this membership. I think I was in the middle of a launch, like a boot camp, a multi-day boot camp, and she was in it. And so she went from being like a participant in the launch boot camp to, and now, you guys all kind of learned alongside her. And now she's the coach in the business. And a big way that I think everything just like really goes together. I try and be very like simple and streamlined. And so the podcast also shifted to be kind of streaming into the membership, and it being very a nice cohesive relationship. And so it made sense to also have her come on as a podcast co-host. And so that's been a lot of fun to figure out all that. It's just a different dynamic. And I know you recently started a co-hosting relationship as well. I believe I saw something on Facebook or something.
Yeah. So we're like in the pre-season of our life together, Ziz and I. And so we do 4.340s on Friday, which is performance coaching, and he'll bring 4 topics and we'll talk about them. So that's happening today.
Cool.
And then on Wednesdays, we do wit and wisdom, and I bring our topic and we chat it up. And it's been really fun. Ziz and I are really passionate about educators and supporting the system. Although something just shifted for me because I just got off a podcast with a woman that I came across. It's unschooling. And, as I'm supporting leaders. And so I think my contribution to the school world, we had collaborated for teachers before, is really just supporting the principals and the assistant principals. And if I could get into the district office, I would love to be able to support leadership coaching there as well. So that's sort of how we started collaborating, was looking at taking a group of administrative leaders through positive intelligence, which was a assessment tool that I do use with my corporate clients. We just found the app is not, it's just not the right vibe. It's not the right fit. But we are still looking at putting, a group going into charter schools and supporting, or public schools, right? And supporting administrators through some leadership coaching, because as you know, they need it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's been a fun collaboration for us. And still doing the Outstanding Women Leaders podcast. I launched season 4 after I moved. Season 3 of my life was unexpected. So I ended up with 2 hospitalizations myself. And so my podcast was really just people, the second half of it was just people that reached out to me. So cool thing is that people reach out, want to, like, their publicists reach out, want to be in my podcast. But it didn't really reflect me because it was all coaches.
Yeah.
So season 3 is really, really heavy, I think, in the coaching world, which is great because everybody, they have so much value to offer the world. So for season 4, which is what you're on supporting here, is really me just kind of stepping into, as a teacher, I always felt like 3 years was like the magic number. And then that 4th year, like, you were just like doing your thing. I just switched schools after my 3rd year, I crushed it. Right. This 3rd year, I did not crush it, so to speak. But I had some amazing women on, of course. And so season 4, I'm doing less interview stuff and really just wanting it to be, a conversation, and ideally not even meeting the guests until we first pop on, because I have a lot of questions in person. Like, I am best in person. I have an open throat. Like, I'm here to dance in this moment and play. And so I'm having the most fun I've had with podcast.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was great. This is our first bonus episode with Chantal Cox. We're catching up here with Create a Life You Love. And we are going to dive into our next topic, which I'm going to pull up whatever that is. We're going to, because I forget, but I do know I want to pick your brain about your app. And yes. One thing you can always count on for a 5-1, at least if they lean heavy on the 1, and Chantal does, is that she's researched this product that she's using, and she knows why she likes it, and she can tell us lots of great information. So, first bonus episode, human design and catching up. So we have 2 more for you. Tune in. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be great.